Okay, the Nigeria-British Chamber of Commerce, Dapo Adelegon, joins me here in the studio. Good morning. Good to have you on the program. I'm sure you listened to the envoy to Nigeria, the UK trade envoy. What would you make of his comments, especially as it seeks closer ties with Nigeria?
Thank you very much. John is in Nigeria for the first time. He's just been recently appointed as the Prime Minister's trade envoy to Nigeria. And we met him in June in London during the last trade mission. And his commitment is to ensure that he increases the level of trade between the two countries, and ensure that our traditional relationship is sustained, particularly within the context of the current situation in the United Kingdom.
When you talk about traditional relations, what do you mean? Because what we all know is we collaborate with the UK, which used to be our colonial masters back in the days. But what kind of relationship do you think we have actually maintained in the past years?
Well, remember that beyond being colonial masters, we share a lot of commonalities. Common law, we speak English as a formal language for the country. Britain hosts the second largest concentration of Nigerians outside of the United States of America. So we have a very strong diaspora in the United Kingdom. And until lately, it was the largest trading partner with Nigeria. But that has fallen back. It's about the fourth or fifth position in terms of that. So I think John's mandate is very clear to move that up in terms of becoming the leading trading partner with the country, to increase the current trade between Britain and Nigeria from 8 billion to 15 billion pounds in the next couple of years, and to do all that is necessary to also assist Nigerian business dimension opportunities in the United Kingdom. So we're not talking of just investment from the United Kingdom into Nigeria, we're talking of reverse FDI. If you have a population of about 1 million plus Nigerians in any country, it simply means you also have responsibility, isn't it, to ensure that their own aspirations are achieved. So, and that's the message he has brought on this visit.
I know that a number of challenges have been facing those who are into the export business. I know that now that the UK voted to leave the EU, before now we've seen the EU coming up with regulations as to what form of standards they expect from the Nigerian market. But going forward, how do you think it would help export from Nigeria? Because a lot of exporters have actually complained about the steep regulations they are made to face. Yes.
Well, I don't think anything will change from the European standard because Britain is exiting Europe. And remember that even with the vote of the Brexit, it is still going to take 2 years before we are in a position to say Britain has exited finally. Britain is still part of the European Union until the next 2 years, until it triggers Article 50. So for the time being, the standards that have been given by Europe on exports into Europe will still subsist. What I can say is that I think there's a determination on the part of the British government to assist through the Nigerian export promotion exporters to dimension the necessary standards and the things they need to do to ensure that their products are able to enter the United Kingdom.
Now, according to Mr. John Howell, some level of opportunities exist across both countries. He mentioned that areas like agriculture, infrastructure, technology, solid minerals, education and training are those areas that they would want to partner with Nigeria in. To what extent do you think we're ready to embrace this partnership and talking about the benefits to the economy?
Well, let me give you an example. In June, we were in London for our summer trade mission, and a report was published by a law firm, nothing was from one of the biggest law firms in London, was Fulbright, on railway infrastructure gap funding. And it was presented to the Honourable Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amici. That is one example of the capacity that exists in the British private sector and government that can be leveraged on by Nigeria in solving some of our problems. So I think that one of the advantages of this relationship going forward will be the leverage of capacity in infrastructure development, in urban renewal, in technology, in agriculture. 2 years ago, we took a trade mission on agriculture to Cambridgeshire, where we're shown institutions in East Midlands that were set up specifically to train agriculture technologists. How you can't develop without tractors, but you need people that can manage the tractors, that understand the technical dimension of agricultural business. So we have a lot of possibilities to learn from Britain in terms of capacitating a new generation of farmers in the technology of farming, for example. We went to Cambridgeshire, where farmers in a cooperative will store all their grains, and just like the former cocoa board, and this particular silo farm helps them to sell to breweries and users all across Europe. So the farmer just concentrates on farming. Somebody else take the harvest and help to market. So these are the value chain opportunities that are matured in the United Kingdom, and I think they can be leveraged upon by Nigeria for developing agriculture.
Are we putting a time frame for this? Of course, we talked about having to raise the trade from $8 billion pounds now to 15 billion pounds. Do we have perhaps a 2, 3, 5-year plan to achieve a remarkable level of this increase?
If not for the current recession that Nigeria is in, we should be looking at about 2017, 2018 for that target. But I think it's reasonable to look at 2020 as a reasonable target to double the current level of trade, to move Britain from the 5th position as a trading partner to number 2, and then also, and I may say that to begin to help to open opportunities for Nigerian investors in the United Kingdom. If you know what the Tatars, for example, have done, by buying Jaguar Land Rover, they've been able to dimension the technology to make India a net exporter of auto cars. So it is important and incumbent on the government to encourage owners of capital in Nigeria to begin to look at critical institutions in the United Kingdom that we can also invest in and bring the technology.
Okay. The UK envoy, trade envoy, was at the exchange, and he said that he was actually delighted to be there. But if you look at what the decision the MPC took to raise interest rate to 14%. A lot of analysts have said that this is in favor of foreign investment. Do you think that perhaps investors from the UK will want to take advantage of these increase in our key interest rate to bring in their monies into the economy?
I mean, if you look at if you dimension or do an audit of foreign investment in Nigeria, the largest has come through the United Kingdom. And even international investors outside of Europe, in Asia, in North America, see London as the financial capital and the pipeline of FDI entry into Nigeria. So I think this decision of MPC would affect positively a return of foreign investment into Nigeria, particularly from the United Kingdom.
We know that perception is very important and very strong when it comes to having to embrace ties and relationship with another country. And with the fight against corruption in the country, do you think that we're sending the right message? Are we being viewed in the positive light as to the fact that we're serious in checking the anomalies in our economy, in our country, to be able to attract investors into Nigeria?
It's a double-edged sword. In the first instance, I think the credibility of this government is globally accepted in terms of its commitment to eradicating corruption to a reasonable level. However, I don't think that trials and name and shame is enough. There are fundamental issues that need to be addressed, which a program like this may not give us opportunity to look at. But to say that the current fight against corruption is being taken positively by the international investment community as a positive effort to ensure that the Nigeria deploys its resources to the things that are critical for development and the prosperity for all Nigerians. However, I also think that the communication aspect of that campaign should be managed properly so as not to give the impression to the world that we're all thieves. When we begin to say Nigerians are all criminal, we limit the number of investors that want to come into the country. Secondly, you hold on investors that have been taking decisions on, and they're not too sure what to do. So because there's corruption everywhere. So the only advice we'll give is that there is a need to ensure that the communication of this fight is done in a way that does not damage the viability of the economy for investment and growth.
Okay, before we go on a break and before I let you go, really, I would like to talk about the fact that Nigeria is always a choice destination when it comes to investment opportunities for those who are planning to come into the country. But we've seen recently downgrades of some of our banking institutions and also of the economy by some rating agencies. Does that affect in any way the perception of, still talking about perception now, of how people see the opportunities, the growth yield, we've seen the IMF actually cutting down outlook for Nigeria for 2016 to 1.8%. Will this affect those who intend to come into the country?
Now, the Pricewaterhouse released a report commissioned by the British government. John was there. That was the day before yesterday. That spoke to the opportunities in Nigeria for British business. I mean, you need to read that report. The indices for Nigeria as a recipient of foreign investment and our growth matrix is very positive. And everybody in the world, every major investor would like to look at Nigeria. However, the current situation is short-term, and I think it was a reaction to the 1 year of non-activity in the economy by the current government. And I think now that things have been done properly, released, I think the international will begin to warm into Nigeria again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dakpo Adelego, President, Nigeria British Chamber of Commerce. We do appreciate your time with us on the program.
My pleasure.
I wish you
the
the very best.